Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Stuphamism. This is a discussion of the Ranger, specifically the Druid. And this is a test build that's still being played around with, but I basically designed this build to be just another alternative to bunker builds, but not based off of a healing signet at all. So, no avatar signet or mender amulet. And it's basically a power build that's going to be based around either, toughness, like a knight amulet or a paladin amulet. And I'm gonna go into the weaponry first and kind of go over that, and then go over the utilities, and then go through the build itself. But I've chosen to use greatsword and longbow, and the main reasons why I chose this is because a greatsword has a block, and it also has swoop, which is a very mobile leap type effect. It's got a stun, it's got a vulnerability plus pet buff on it. I chose the longbow because it's got tons of range. It's got a knockback, it's got an invis. There's no reason why not to choose that in this build, because even if you're trying to bunker something, you can start attacking the enemy before they ever get close, knock them back perhaps, and invis if you start to get to a situation where you need to get away last minute. This build is a great +1 build. It works really well at holding a point until someone else can make it there. I've gotten a little bit of the later videos, some actual match footage and some duel footage. Like I say, once again, this build's still in a test phase, so there's a lot of things that I'm trying to work out, and of course your opinions would be great too. But the build focuses around survival utilities, so I've got a lot of survival utilities actually, and they grant me fury and can remove conditions based off some of my traits. So I've got the survival healing skill, which is basically a healing over time, which works really well. And I think that's being used in a lot of the bunker builds, actually a lot of the Ranger builds period right now. Signet of Renewal, this is going to give you resistance if you activate it, but when it's not activated, you're just recuperating health. Now also, this is a break stun. Also, when combined with the Rune of Resistance, every 30 seconds this is going to give you Aegis, which I'm a big fan of this Aegis in this build, because if you use it at the right time, even if you don't have the block on your greatsword available, you can definitely avoid a big impact, especially against some of the harder hitting classes, if you know that it's coming. So I've also got lightning reflexes here. It's another survival skill. This one is going to enhance your endurance regeneration after it's used. You evade, it breaks a stun, it's another break stun. Once again, that's giving you fury, it's removing any kind of mobilize, and it's removing other conditions. But this is a build where you got to be mobile, you got to be able to get away from attacks, you can't really get stuck, but you do want to try to see if you can't root the other enemy. So I've got Muddy Terrain. That's one of my survival skills. Obviously you're gonna get another critical chance increase with fury, and then you're removing more conditions, but this right here will cripple, slow, and immobilize your enemy when you use it. It's got a 900 range, and you can point and drop wherever you want it. Then Entangle is the elite skill that I'm using. You could easily switch this out with Strength of the Pack if you wanted something with some stability, which would be it's never a bad idea, but it'd be a smart idea because there's not a lot of swiftness in this build, and plus that also gives you the ability to have a little bit of stability while you're using your Celestial Avatar F5 skill. But if you do choose to do what I've done here, you can kind of see in my videos how this worked out for me. But this is an unblockable ability, so unless they're evading it, they're not going to get around this. This is going to bleed them. It's going to do a tiny little bit of damage with this build, but it's also going to mobilize them. It's also going to trigger your fury and your condition removals once again. Now the pets, this is something you can choose through a couple of them. You know, right now these are the pets that I've chosen. The Jacaranda, and basically this is a pretty high damage pet, you know, that also roots the foe, and it can remove conditions, grant regeneration. Another great choice, you know, is the smoke scale. The juvenile smoke scale, it gives you a knockdown, bleeds, and then also this one will stick with your enemy quite well, especially like, you know, the more tricky you know, enemies to keep up with, mesmers and thieves. And you know, I usually don't want to start the fight with that. I would like to rather start it with this, or if you're not a big fan of the Jacaranda, you can also go with the bristleback, and that's got a ranged attack that's pretty good. The electric wyvern, I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that, but it, you know, it's got some stuns, and it does a decent amount of damage, knockbacks. So that's another good choice too. But you know, and my experience, the Jacaranda's been really great, and you know, I usually start the fight off with that, and then especially if I need to attack somebody at a prime time, like maybe after I use the Maul 2 skill, or maybe just somebody that's getting away from me, I can quickly switch over to you know, to the smoke scale, and that does a great job of keeping. It's one of the few pets that does a great job of keeping up with some of the people that can teleport and such. It's great for the right moments, and a lot of people that play Ranger already know that. But that's going over the pets. We briefly touched on the amulet and the rune I'm using. As far as the sigils that I'm using, just removing conditions, that's still a really big deal, especially if you decide that you want to choose a night amulet, which I would still not suggest going with this amulet very often. I would think that the paladin would still be the smarter choice for bunker most of the time. You know, if you're going against a team that doesn't have a whole lot of condition, maybe you can choose this. But even as much condition removal as this build has, it also generates some boons, so stuff like Scourges and just Necros in general still are a danger here. But that being said, when I switch over to the Greatsword, I've got a little bit of quickness with the agility sigil, and then some more endurance regeneration, because dodging is a big must here too. And like I say, the big thing here is to try to survive. This is a very low damage build, high survivability build. Doing nature magic, and of course I've got search and rescue, or allies aid, which proc search and rescue whenever you start to revive somebody, and that's always a great thing to have because that's a little bit more support. Evasive purity, so you could choose this. You could choose really any of these and be okay. If you're taking a Warhorn, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get Windborne Notes. I decided against it, and my main source of getting around is actually just using the 3 skill and the Greatsword, believe it or not. It's pretty much my main source of getting around, but with this build I'm mostly bunkering. I don't have a whole lot of swiftness. That could be something that you could easily swap out, you know, Warhorn and this. But since I don't have a Warhorn, I'm using Evasive Purity, which is just more condition removal, and I like that. It's worked pretty good for me. Protective Ward, I think this is a good choice to take. You know, whenever you're getting damage, it's gonna this is every 30 seconds. It's gonna proc weakness on your enemy, and that gives you protection as well, so it's just a little bit more damage mitigation. Then I'm going into Wilderness Survival here. So whenever you take falling damage or use a healing skill, it's gonna do a lesser muddy terrain. So this is just, you know, one more way of temporarily slowing or immobilizing the enemy, but it's, you know, it's also a survival skill, so it's also proc and condition removal. So, you know, whenever you're getting a lot of conditions removed, and, you know, extra critical strike chance just by healing or jumping off the behind landing. I did Shared Anguish here. You could just as easily go with refined toxins if you want to add just a little bit of damage, a little bit of poison in there to try to wear out the enemy a little bit. I went with shared anguish, which incoming disables are going to be transfer your pet. That's only once every 90 seconds, but you know, so this is one you can easily interchange, and it may even be a smarter tactic to take refined toxins, just to be honest. But I'm still playing around with both, trying to see the viability of using shared anguish, and maybe some of the more veteran rangers can tell me, and you may just say, Stuart, you're retarded for doing this, but that's what I'm playing with right now. It's what I've used in the footage you'll see here in a little bit. And then of course this is Wilderness Knowledge, which is the survival skill that I was talking about that kind of works in the synergy with all the survival skills. And as far as Druid goes, I think this is pretty standard in most of the bunker builds, is to take these first two options. Druidic Clarity, which whenever you become a Celestial Avatar, it removes 13 conditions, so, you know, then it also breaks stuns. So this is a must. This is every 20 seconds. That's 13 conditions every 20 seconds, and a break stun. It's a must. It's a great thing to have. And then Celestial Shadow, whenever you come back out of that avatar form, then you get stealth for 3 seconds and get super speed for 3 seconds. So, I mean, if you're in trouble, automatically right there, you got a break stun, you got a condition removal, and you got a means of getting away quickly while being stealth. So this also is for nearby allies as well within 300-yard radius. This is a great tool. I think those two are definitely a good synergy. And now here I chose the Lingering Light. So this is, I didn't feel like I needed any more knockdowns or entangling roots or whatever. I think it'd be overkill to go for one more trait towards that. You probably wouldn't be making a bad choice by going with Graced Land, especially if you plan on, you know, spending most of your time around allied targets. I chose Lingering Light mainly because this is going to be something that, like I say, once again, I'm trying to design this build mostly for just bunkering and surviving for like +1 situations, not as much necessarily taking down the opponent. But, you know, this is definitely still in a test phase. Might would be great if you're going to be around allies. It might even be an okay idea for yourself, you know, because it's a 14-second boost of might to use this if you wanted a little bit of extra damage, if you're going for that. But Lingering Light, when you enter avatar form, your next strike is going to blind the foe and heal you. So it's just a little bit of healing once you went into that form. So, you know, you're removing conditions, you go in here, you attack, you get healed just a little bit, you blind the enemy, you come back out, you're invis, you have, you know, quickness. If you decide that you want to stay in that form, it's going to increase your outgoing healing. I think that if you are planning on being supportive, that's a great way to do it. So to me, this was a good balance and a good synergy between all the different traits and utilities. So I'm going to show you here some clips, like I say, some gameplay footage. If you look into the description of the video, I'm going to have the timelines of when the dueling starts versus when the other starts. But thank you guys. Enjoy the vids.